Thank you very much, Jane. It's nice to be here. So just to give you a little bit of context into how tonight runs, I'll be up here chatting to Nick a bit about his business, asking him a few questions for around half an hour, 45 minutes, and then I'll pass it over to the audience for Q&A. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask Nick, jot them down and you'll get an opportunity at the end. Around 7:30, I think we're expecting pizzas to come through, so please stick around. I know Nick's going to be here for a little while to answer a couple of questions and hear from you all if you'd like to talk to him in person. So yeah, why don't we kick it off? So just to give a bit of background, Nick has founded a company called AfterPay, which gives consumers an opportunity to buy and have their products now, but to pay later. They pay in 4 installments over the course of 8 weeks. Some of AfterPay's clients include Q, Marks, Journal Pants and Topshop. So it's a bit like a lay-by option, but you receive your product as soon as you sort of buy it. If you pay some sort of upfront payment, you can take it away even if you haven't paid in full. It was founded in 2014 in Sydney and it floated on the Australian Stock Exchange in May 2016. It has a market capitalisation of around 650 million, which is amazing, and has obviously achieved so much success in such little time. So congratulations, Nick. So tell us a bit about your background.
Cool. Firstly, thanks everyone for coming. Really appreciate it. I know on a Thursday, it's just before Friday. And everyone's just exhausted, so really appreciate it. So my background is, my family was in retail, so they were in jewellery, and I started selling jewellery on eBay out of my bedroom while I was at uni. I sold the most jewellery on eBay in Australia when I was 19. And then I ended up reaching out to a company in the States, a business called ice.com. They were the largest online jeweler over there, and got the license to launch them into Australia. So I did that with my younger brother, and then we grew that to be the largest pure play online jewellery and watch retailer. And it kind of taught me everything that I knew about retail. And what was really interesting about their business over there was that they did installment payments, and it was a big part of their business, and it drove a very high lifetime value. So I always had this, affiliation with this product. And to cut a really long story short, this random guy, this is no joke, walked up to me one day when I was walking out of my parents' place carrying parcels to the post office. He was my neighbour. He was running a few billion-dollar investment fund, and he was like, "Your light is on every single night. What do you do?" I thought I was selling drugs, but it's not important. And we started speaking, and he was running a fund, a business called Guinness Peak Group. He finished selling, he sold down all of his investments, and we started talking. And I said, "Well, I've got this great idea called AfterPay. I have no idea how I'm going to build it, but this is the concept." And he used to own a company in Melbourne called Touch Corp. We actually merged with Touch Corp a month ago. So Touch were like our big brother. They were a listed business. They were about $200 million market cap. And they kind of seeded us, and we started building. So we put it on my website, and we optimized it for about 6 months. And then we raised our first round. So we raised 8 mil at a 28 mil valuation. We had less than 10 retailers and a couple thousand consumers. That was August 2015, so less than 2 years ago, and it's kind of been a rocket ship since then. We now have over 800,000 consumers. We bring live over 3,000 new customers per day. We have over 6,000 retailers. We bring live about 30 businesses a day. We process annualized volume through our platform of over $1 billion now. So we do about 5% of online retail in the country, 15% of online fashion. So yeah, it's been a ridiculous ride, a lot of luck, having an awesome time.
Wow, that's some pretty impressive figures there, Nick. So you introduced your co-founder, I'll just jump to that. It sounded like it was a bit of luck meeting him, being your neighbour, him being inquisitive, asking some questions. I guess for the people out there who are looking at starting their own company, how important is a co-founder, and how should we seek out one if we are looking for one, rather than it just leaving it to chance, like what happened with you and you being lucky?
Yeah, I think every business is different. So I get asked this quite a bit. I could never have built AfterPay without Anthony, there's no doubt in my mind. But we're extremely complementary. He is finance, shareholder relations. Originally the people put the money in, not for me, they put the money in for him. And then on the other side, I was retail, marketing, product. So we're extremely complementary. And then we didn't have a co-founder, but we really did have a co-founding partner in TouchCorp, who we essentially gave 50% of the company to on day one. So I think it's important, I think every business is different, but it's really important to understand what are the key components that drive the business, and then everyone's circumstances are different. So sometimes you can afford to pay for it, sometimes you want to bring people in that are incentivized to drive towards your objective. But in my instance, we are so complementary, we're kind of telepathic, it's a bit weird. But yeah, couldn't have done it without Anthony.
Awesome. So yeah, look for complementing skill sets, sounds like. And during the early stages of AfterPay, did you have any major pivots at all when you got your MVP out to the market? Can you share just some insights on that and any learnings there?
Yeah, we had a huge pivot. We originally went live with a product that I just thought was genius. It was terrible. It was essentially pay after delivery. So like my whole thing was, well, we should just ship products to customers, and once they decide they like it, they keep it, and then they can pay us. And then we built another product on the side, which was this pay by installment product. And retailers just hated the pay after delivery because they're like, it's going to drive my return rates up. And they were just getting fixated on this pay after delivery, but they wouldn't even consider the pay by installment. So I turned around to Anthony and I was like, well, we're getting rid of this pay after delivery product. And the feedback that we had been getting from our customers was we originally had 4 payments every 15 days. And it was like, I bought on a Wednesday because I get paid on a Wednesday, it's now a Saturday, can I move my payment back to a Wednesday? So we changed it to fortnightly. It was really interesting having a chat with Anthony. He was like, but then we're not an AfterPay. But if we don't offer that service, we're not an after. And I'm like, well, but we are, people are still paying later. So it was, I know it seems kind of easy to do, but at the time it was like, Anthony and I were just funding it ourselves. It was a really big decision for us to make. But the data said everything, like, 90% of our customers were using pay by installment, no one was using this pay after delivery product.
And so you stuck with the pay by installments. Can you talk a bit about the business model of AfterPay? How do you make money?
Oh yeah, so like I gave this whole background and I didn't even tell any of you guys what I did. So the way it works is if you're buying a $200 dress, rather than spending $200, the customer pays 4 payments of $50. So for the customer, it costs them nothing extra. We make our money from the retailer, not the customer. So the retailer pays us next day, but we settle with the retailer next day, and then we assume all the risk. So it's our responsibility to recover money from our customer over a 6 to 8 week period. We do it both online and in-store. The way in-store works is we've got a mobile app, and the customer downloads the app, we give them a barcode, the retailer just scans the barcode into the point of sale system, and then the customer takes it home. And there's a real thrill that the customer gets when they take the product and they haven't paid for it. Like the
stealing?
Yeah, like our whole better than chocolate. So there's this amazing energy, and it's resulted in like extreme advocacy for our brand. Our customers made this group on Facebook called We Love AfterPay. It has 100,000 members now.
Wow.
And it's insane. So like when we put ourselves out there, like we ran this really bit sneaky, but we did this early on. I was trying to figure out what we do from a B2B perspective in terms of, I'm going totally off tangent.
It's okay. It's all right.
It doesn't really have a point, but it's a good story. So it was like we were doing B2B selling, but it was hard. You can't just do like one-to-one B2B because it's just not scalable. So what we did was we ran this campaign on social. It was help us help you, and we marketed it to our customers and said, if your favourite retailer isn't live, why don't you contact them and tell them that you'd love it if they got AfterPay, and hashtag AfterPay it, and it went viral. And we were getting contacted by retailers saying like, you've got to turn this off. We can't deal with our normal customer service inquiries. But then we just like extended it through, because what happened was like Mimco would have had thousands of people contact them, and then when Mimco came live, the customers who contacted were like, I made that happen. They're like, I feel like that was me. I have to shop now. And it was like this tidal wave that would come through, but we kept this kind of customer-led strategy. So like on Valentine's Day, we picked 5 retailers who we knew our customers loved, and we posted like, Dear Sephora, will you be our Valentine? Love AfterPay. It got like 5,000 likes. It was just insane. So, and then we said the one that got the most likes will actually send a proper Valentine's Day card to. So we made like this video out of it, of us going to the post office, and Sephora came live. And it's gone crazy. So it's pretty cool when you think about how you can, from the question of what I did to how you really start to get some scale. If you can engage with your customers in a really neat way, it's huge.
That's true, Nick, and that's some great examples how you've really driven traction from your customers as well. So how do you manage the credit risk then?
So we don't do a formal credit check on people. We look at hundreds of different attributes when someone's making a purchase to say yes or no against that transaction. And our net transaction loss for the first half of this year was 0.7%. So we decline about 25% of our transactions, not customers. Bad people just kind of like keep trying, and we keep rejecting them. But it's really interesting. So like an example is a GHD hair straightener is far more risky than a woolen sweater from Cotton On, because GHD is the most popular product bought and sold on eBay. So if someone wants to buy something, they want to buy something they can sell tomorrow for 90 cents in the dollar. So we correlate all this data and we give a customer a score when they buy to say yes or no. And then the more the customer buys with us, the more flexibility we give them. So as they prove they're capable, we give them more flexibility. But the big difference is that traditional credit products, you get your credit card statement, and it's like, pay your minimum $100 balance. It's like, please don't pay us back in full so we can charge you interest. With us, if someone goes late once, they can't use the system again until they've paid that order back. So the biggest reason why people pay us back is actually because they want to use the system again. And they know that if they don't keep their account back in good order, they can't buy the dress to wear on the weekend. It's actually amazing how a product that adds value to people drives good behaviour beyond any kind of penalties or fees. So we charge a flat $10 late fee. We don't tell, is this thing video?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
You're a public company, watch what you
Yeah.
say.
No, but we work with our customers, so like we waive a portion of our late fees. We use it as leverage to get paid. So for 24 hours after, we'll say to our customers, hey, we've waived your late fee, pay it back. So it's really about how you drive that positivity through. customer knows that they've done the wrong thing, but it's actually that you're working with them because it's not in our interest for them to be late. There's a different way of thinking. We're unashamedly customer centric. We're not out there to make money from the customer.
Sounds that's the case. Apart from the pressure that consumers put on retailers like Sephora or Myers or whatever, what else is the incentive for these big retailers to get on AfterPay?
So I built AfterPay because I wanted to sell more jewellery. My purpose is we want to help retailers sell more stuff. So retailers, when they go live, they see huge uplifts in conversion rate, average order value, repeat purchase rate, which just drives top line revenue, and then the return on investment's very large on the back of that. But the approach we took originally was we believe in our product. If it's not working, just get rid of it. But now, generally, within 24 hours of being live, we'll process 20% of a retailer's online orders. So like the uptake is quick.
Okay. And is there a maximum value on a product they can buy?
It varies retailer to retailer. So generally it's about $1,000. So we're not looking to. We will never be the company that lends someone $3,000 to buy a couch. That's not us. Our average order value is $150. It's your everyday life little luxury. It's the normal consumable product. We're high velocity. Lots of different customers using us and lower average order value.
Yeah. And so who is your main target market? That's my first question. And you said you were inspired by this idea of from the US. Are there other competitors that you have here in Australia and abroad?
Yeah, so interestingly, let's start with the second question. The product in the States was a lending product because it was largely for jewellery. So it was, asking someone for their social security number, lending them money over a long period of time, which is very different to what we do. So it taught me a lot about consumer behaviour, but what's happened in Australia and lots of parts of the world is people have moved towards debit cards. So there's 2 out of every 3 transactions in Australia use a debit card, not a credit card. And 90% of our orders use a debit card. So from our customer's perspective, if you said to them, AfterPay is like a line of credit for you, they're like, no. They get really passionate about it. They're like, no, I budget with AfterPay. It's linked into my bank balance. I feel responsible. And I've seen how it's kind of like, I watch my wife shop. Weird, but I learn a lot. And she'll come to me and she'll be like, Nick, I just finished my AfterPay purchase. I paid it on time. I was responsible. I deserve another one. And we see that behaviour, keep unfolding. So there are other things in the States, but they're all, considered purchases. And I've totally forgot the first question.
Who's your main consumer group?
So when we first started, we drove a lot of these viral campaigns. Our early adopting customer was 18 to 25-year-old female. But as we've started to mature and gone into retailers like Toys R Us, Country Road, Myer, etc., our customers got a lot older. So our core customer is 25 to 35-year-old females. Our percentage of men, guys, you can still use this, that use the product is growing each month. So when we went live with boating, camping, fishing, we didn't have any idea how it was going to go, but it went off. So there's been this awesome evolution. Naturally, girls shop a lot more than guys, but our customers are getting more normalised towards retail, and our penetration in the male market is growing over time.
Have any of the retailers ever thought of doing this themselves?
Retailers have far bigger problems. And look, the reality is everyone just needs to stay focused on what they're good at. I see how many evolutions our engine, for example, has had to go through. We optimize every day. We're always learning about customer cohorts, postcodes, relationships. It's not an easy thing to do. particularly in Australia, because there's no central positive or negative credit bureau, it's very hard to determine someone's risk profile.
So tell me a bit about your listing. When I was doing some research on AfterPay, I was quite surprised that you'd listed after only starting a couple of years ago. Your market valuation, 650 million, is very impressive. Tell us about why you decided to list on the ASX.
So we listed for a couple of different reasons. One is our business is reasonably, we need cash to scale. So not from the perspective of investing in the business, but from the perspective of we pay retailers straight away. So what we wanted to do was go to one of the big four banks with a position where we could say we're the highest level of payments compliance. So Touch Corp, who process our payments, process payments for the government, they do the Medicare high caps rebate program. When you go to the physio and you get a rebate. So payments, security was a tip, but it was all about being the highest level of business compliance as well. So we raised 25 mil, and then 6 months after that we raised 25 mil at 165 mil valuation, and then we raised 6 months later another 36 mil at a $400 million valuation. So that allowed us to then get a facility with National Australia Bank in place. So we raised 200 mil from NAB on the back of their understanding of our business model, but also the transparency of our numbers and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a difficulty in Australia from a VC perspective. It's a kind of high net worth. It's a couple of VCs, but we just didn't feel it was appropriate to go to VC.
You needed the equity, you needed the capital.
And also gave us a lot of PR too. So like our big retail partners who were following our story. They wanted to be a part of what we did. So there was a broad halo that I think had positive benefits across the board.
Yep. And how has it gone going from a startup to a publicly listed company?
Well, my ambitions weren't to be a publicly listed CEO. So I think that's the first point, is when you get, we grew hugely through the listing, which is part of your previous question on the co-founder piece.
Yeah.
So I was involved in all the DDCs and that kind of stuff, but I purposely separated myself from the listing process. And as we've continued to go to market, I've separated myself from shareholder management, all that kind of stuff. There is your annual results, there's half year, there's the normal shareholder management that you have to do, but at the end of the day, you've got to grow your business and you have to get your numbers. Yeah. So what we've managed to do, Anthony and I, is he takes the work from that side of it, which frees me up to keep growing AfterPay.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. And how has it performed since listing? What was the share price when you floated, and where is it now?
When we listed, we had 100 retailers and 40,000 consumers. So we're materially up. I think it was $1. It was $1. It's now $3 something. I'm not sure. But yeah, we were a startup. We were like, when we listed, we were kind of, Anthony and I were like, look, we need to execute to deliver on people's expectations. But it was also, you just got to dare yourself to be brave and just run at it. And we just ran so hard. So, when you think about what we've done over the past 12 months, we haven't really slept much. But yeah, I wouldn't change it for anyone.
Yeah, awesome. Cool, and I guess, how do you see the IPO tech market in Australia going? I mean, I know there's been some stories, one-pagers. I don't know if you're familiar with that company. It did really well. It was an American company listed here in the ASX. Did really well. Got to $4.50, and now it's sort of trading at 35 cents. So it's burnt a lot of investors. Obviously, there's great stories as well, like Freelancer. Generally, how do you see the appetite for tech companies on the ASX?
I don't follow it close enough. But I think at the end of the day, like good investors have an appetite for good businesses, and they are seeing a lot because there was a lot that came through. But there are some great businesses that have come to market. So yeah, I also don't watch my own share price either. It doesn't move when you watch it. So yeah, look, we haven't really stayed hugely across it, but our shareholders have been so supportive from day one still to today. If you get the right share register, it's fantastic.
Awesome. Cool. I guess I just wanted to ask a couple of questions about reflecting on AfterPay before I hand over to the audience. What's been maybe your biggest mistake that you've made, and what did you learn from it?
Well, we've made lots of mistakes.
Biggest.
Yeah, biggest. We hired some people probably a bit too quickly as well, which slows you down. And then we ended up shifting that totally around and hiring really, really slowly. So until we did the merger, there was really like 30 of us. It was really small. So we I guess you realise that you need 18 players, and then 18 players want other 18 players, and it's self-perpetuating. So people, I think, was a difficult thing. My first ever retailer switched me off. Yeah.
Sorry, what?
My first ever retailer switched me off.
Oh.
And they came live again this week.
Yay.
So yeah, people are probably, yeah, I mean we've had, I know it's weird, but like you run so hard and there's fires you put out all over the place. We've been very lucky.
You talked about building an A-team. What makes an A-team? What sort of characteristics and attributes?
Well, I think it's very different business to business what creates an A-team. Everyone has different cultures. When we started, if someone told me like brand was important or culture was important, I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, executing is important. But then as you grow, I don't know if people have watched Simon Sinek's Start With The Why. That just changed my perspective on everything. And once you start to get in tune with your purpose, it then helps you hire the right people. So we actually didn't even go out with values until we just did this merger. We just didn't want to rush into it. And we had a couple of goes at it, and then it was kind of like, well, you could stick any business's name on this and it could be anyone. And we landed on like some incredible values that just say who we are, and then we hire properly based on those values. So like, we all work really hard, and the grass is always greener when you're joining a startup and coming from probably a corporate, and everyone's like, oh, like it's all rosy. But the reality is you get in and then like your back's against the wall and you're hustling like anything and you're doubting yourself, and you just need to make sure that you're honest and transparent with the people about the reality of your business. Otherwise they get in there and they just crumble. So I think we did a really good job at hiring for the right values. And also we set clear goals. Like really simple goals for people to understand. So I was just like, when I came back in January, I was like, we want to hit $1 billion, and that was just it. So we want to hit, and we want to run rate $1 billion. So everything that people did, there's a lot more to that, but everything that people did then kind of underpinned a collective strategy.
Cool. That's well said. What's your why, Nick? What's your purpose?
So when I watched the Simon Sinek video, I came up with my company's purpose. It was so clear to me, which was I want to help retailers sell more stuff. and I'll get onto my own purpose. But then I ran an offsite with them. We all went away. We separated into groups, and then like the why came back as like it was translating how people feel. It was like we help people live more and feel. I don't remember what it was, but it just wasn't the real purpose. So it was interesting to try and level that back to the true reason. Because once you know your vision, you're just like, I'm going. And once you got your vision, it all becomes a lot easier. My personal why is I want to build things that people think I don't know how to live without that. That's just what, and I'm a B2C guy. I mean, we do B2B through AfterPay, but I'm a consumer guy. So yeah, I'm doing a TED Talk, which is cool. I do it first week of September, which is on this whole topic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to be careful not to give it all away.
Okay. All right.
We'll watch out for that. So, what bit of advice do you give entrepreneurs out there looking to start their own business? They might have an idea, they might be looking for an idea, they might be working on an idea. What's one bit of advice you'd give them all?
Well, the biggest thing I see is I hear a lot of people who have ideas or are working on ideas, but they're also working on other jobs. And it is impossible to build something when you're working on something else. It is just it's just impossible. And you can fill your day up as much or as little as you want and make yourself as busy or not as you want, but you cannot build a business unless you're working on it full time. And I know it's really daunting when you've got a really good salary and it's like you're relying on this paycheck and it's safe, but once you pull it away and you're not relying on a paycheck, it makes you hungry. You can live with. I've never had a paycheck. You can create your own paycheck, but it's important to devote the time that it deserves to it. If I heard like a lot of the smart people that I know who have these ideas, who are working on ideas, who are actually doing them full time, they could be phenomenal businesses, but sometimes you just got to make the jump.
Cool. Take the risk.
Yeah, what's the downside? You gotta get another job.
And then my last question is, what's AfterPay's 12-month plan? What's your vision?
We want everyone using it. We don't have any forecasts out there, so we can't give numbers, but in-store is a big part for us. New Zealand, so we did a partnership with TradeMe, who is the biggest New Zealand online retailer, so we'll go live with them shortly, but in-store is a really big thing for us. So naturally, when we bring a retailer online, we inherit this huge in-store network, and it's now up to us about how we roll that out. So we've got over 1,000 storefronts live with us in store. We launched our mobile app, and it's largely aimed at in-store. Within 24 hours of launching our app, it went to #1 in the whole app store in Australia.
Wow.
So, I think we've got a really great base to just drive that through, but it's a different kind of execution than online. You need to get the staff members involved. It's different print creative, it's not digital creative. So, we're really working through how we partner with our retailers to roll that out. But that's our biggest focus is new geography and in-store.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Okay, enough for me. Any questions from the floor? I won't take it out of the microphone.
Just say it and then I'll repeat it for everyone else.
What other patterns you ended up with
What's
the business? We get a lot of work trying to define how these companies and
Yeah.
that generic thing happens every time. It was in it did every
So we had really good generic values, and then I just wordsmithed them. So settle for extraordinary. We had like one team, we changed it to one family. Really, really customer first. Like everyone says, I'm customer first, but we're really, really customer first. So, I think you land with the generic values, but then if you sit down with someone who properly knows your team, it all comes to you. And then what we did was we wrote a little kind of brief description underneath it. So it's kind of like, once you climb to the top of a mountain, you can always build another one. There's like these cool things that get people going, but when you read them, they're us.
Around values.
Hi Nick, I'm Christo, I'm here with Fishburners. I'm knocking on the doors of potential customers, but they're not opening. I looked at your Facebook page and I saw it took about 3 months for you to get your first retail customer. What advice can you give me that people just take my call or open my email?
I'll just repeat the question. What advice can you give me to get more retail customers?
So we did a couple of different things. One was we engaged amazing influencers in the retail market to help open those doors. It's the hardest thing is getting in the door. That's the hardest thing. The second hardest thing is signing up your first customer. So what we did was we said, we'll make it risk-free. So we actually said, if it doesn't work for you, get rid of it. And we're not going to try and use term agreements. We're not going to charge you any more than what you already pay. If it works, you pay us because it will prove the results. But we really put our money where our mouth is. And I think if you can find a way to de-risk it, at the end of the day, possession is 9/10 of the law. Once you get it, you got it. So it's just finding the way to get in and then keeping it, I think, is a lot easier than getting it. But what we then did was, and I don't know if this relates to your business, but we knew who competed with who. So when General Pants went live, like a day later, I was in Glue Store's office. And we stayed super focused. So we just went like, fashion's our thing. We're just going to go after fashion. And we knew who competed with who within fashion. And we just drove FOMO, like massively. But it's hard to stay focused. But once you get sales staff too, you need to keep them focused because you need them to achieve the best ROI. We bring live 30 businesses a day. We now don't do any outbound. It's all inbound. It's just because we've engaged our customers and it drives itself. So, every business is different, but
Yeah. So how do you get this full installment and fortnightly? Is there any research or validation? What the process reach to this formal product?
So the question was, how do you structure the repayment methods, the 4 installments over every fortnight?
yeah. So like how we came up with it, and I get asked this a lot, and it's really a good question. There's no science. It just felt right. We knew that people get paid fortnightly, but we didn't actually. The data told us, and we changed it. That's our sales pitch. We knew people get paid fortnightly. And 4 was just, it felt like the appropriate number. In hindsight, I think why it's worked really well is it's tightly aligned to how frequently people make purchases in this kind of category. So it probably wouldn't make sense to pay off a couch in 6 weeks, but it does make sense to pay it off over 3 years. So I think that now resonates quite well, but it's not economical. Our customers don't use us because it's not an economics thing. It's like my wife can afford a $200 dress, she just can't justify it. But when it's $50, she's like, I'll do it. Get the shoes as well. So it's a psychology. It was largely actually the psychology that we thought we wanted to drive, and we felt that was the appropriate means to do it.
So you didn't consult any psychologists?
Nothing.
Just
Got it out and looked at the data.
And that was just about putting it out there, figuring people get paid every fortnight, testing it, iterating. Yeah. A sort of lean startup approach.
Yeah.
Hi, Andrew from Fishburners as well. How did you start your product risk model?
Cool. So the question was, how did you start your product risk model?
Yeah. So like, how do we assess a customer?
Yeah.
So we partnered with Touch Corp at the start. They were guaranteeing Optus, 7-Eleven, the government against fraud and risk. So they were processing millions of dollars of transactions and seeing the Australian population very, very frequently. So that was part of the tech criteria that we needed to bring in. and they were the really important, I guess, piece of that. We then have built out a huge team of data scientists, and the system learns naturally, but it started with a great data set and a team that was really good at doing what they do. And like, fraud is really interesting, so if I have my credit card stolen and I go on my bank, like I look at my credit card statement and there's a $200 order and it wasn't me, I call my bank and I'm like, that $200 purchase from DJs, that wasn't me. And Westpac's like, no problem, I'll refund you the money back. And you're like, my bank's so nice. On the other side, they go to DJs and they say, can I see the docket with the signature? Of which DJs can't, because they're like, this was an online purchase. They just take the money out of DJ's account. That's how it works. So that's what Touch Corp guaranteed Optus against. So if there was a chargeback, it would hit Touch Corp's P&L. So that underlying technology allowed us to get to where we got to.
Thank you.
Cara.
I've got two questions. The first one is, how much capital did you initially start with? And the second one is, how did you engage those influencers you mentioned from the retail space?
Awesome. So 2 questions from Cara. Number 1, finance. How much capital did you start with before you raised any money, I imagine? And then number 2 was, how did you influence or engage the influencers that really drove your adoption?
So we didn't really, well, Anthony and I just kind of self-funded it initially, and we were targeting to get to a level of about 30 orders a day. And this little business called Princess Polly that like no one's heard of, they're the best business ever, contacted me, and I knew that they were big, and I accepted them. And then we were doing 300 orders a day. We were doing like $500,000 a month, and I was funding it, but it made us raise money really fast. And we had a good story on the back of that. So we self-funded it until we raised our first round. And the influencers, I just knew because I came from a retail background. So I was lucky. I went to like 10 of my mates and said like, please do this. That was kind of it. And then once it worked, we got testimonials from them who plastered it across all the press and then drove it really hard.
Can you tell us about any risks or challenges that you're currently facing?
Okay, the question was, can you talk about any current risks or challenges that you're facing at AfterPay?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge for us right now is, I don't know, it's not really a good problem, but it's hard, is this whole hyper growth that we're in. So 6 months ago-ish, we would have had 250,000 customers. And when you have materially more than that, it means that customer service, for example, gets that many more tickets. And when you're really, really customer first, you want to make sure that you're giving everyone the service that you stand by and that you want to be proud of. So we're in an interesting position right now where you need to build a customer service strategy for scale, but we want to maintain this level of authenticity and customer centricity that we've got at the moment. That's the biggest thing. And what we ended up doing was we stuck our customer service team surrounded by developers who will fix the problems that they're solving. So they're in the middle of the whole office, and you just, customer service at the centre of all of that.
So you don't charge interest, right? Have you looked at the data analysis for who your users are and delineated how much of that is a Muslim population that believes that credit and interest is actually forbidden? And are you targeting that segment?
Well, it's a really interesting question, and we've spoken about it before. We don't have specific data on it. But like it could be interesting in different geographical locations and the split between credits frowned upon. So yeah, it's a really interesting point. We don't have the data.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a core component of our opportunity.
Okay, and that,
Question related to how many of your customers have a Muslim background because of their beliefs around credit, debit, and risk. You don't have that data yet? No. Thank you. Yeah.
So how strictly are you sticking to retail, and also what do you charge your sellers or your the people you?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
our,
so-
sorry, not good at this.
So the question was, how strict are you with your current clients and
Categories.
with your current categories and sorry, and how much do you charge your retail clients?
Yeah. So our big retailers pay around 4.5%. Our smaller retailers pay around 6%. So it varies based on scale. We stayed really focused on retail because that was where we were focused and where we were scaling. But my perspective is AfterPay has application across a really broad range of categories, really wherever a payment takes place. So we will scale out across retail. Now is more of an appropriate time because we've scaled really well in that market. So yeah, I think there's big opportunities. Whether it's education, health, there's lots of opportunities.
What's the profitability of AfterPay, Nick? Have you released your end of year results? Okay, then you can't answer that.
I mean, all our numbers are out, so you can kind of dissect our numbers and understand. But yeah, they're all.
Any? Yeah.
My name is Abdul. Thanks for this presentation. And the question relates to the value of the item that customers purchase. In the fashion industry, the prices of fashion items are in natural backwardation, so the price drops. And I was thinking, you have an emotional appeal to your customers. Would you consider moving into the tickets and travel, where prices are in natural contango?
Cool. Good question. The question was, you're currently selling to the retail base. Would you consider moving into travel and tickets where the value of those products are higher and thus make more money?
Yeah, I think there's a really good opportunity in those categories. So in terms of other verticals, I think it makes absolute sense. There's different metrics for success in different price points. So the conversion rate uplift you see on higher average order value is really, really strong because it's easier to convince someone to buy a $400 item if they can split it in 4. But if you want to increase your average order value, the results on lower value are far better than high value. So the easiest way to think about it is it's far easier to convince someone from spending 4 payments of $15 to spend 4 payments of $30 than it is to spend 4 payments of $50 to 4 payments of $100. So we see different success metrics depending on the average order value, but I think those other categories are really big opportunities for us.
Well, a couple of these questions already asked. What about Nick obviously going into ultimately like a reward scheme for your customer? You thought about that far ahead yet? Obviously a big spender on the site, you might get a reward, you might get some kind of reward, loyalty program.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
The question relates to reward programs at AfterPay.
Really big opportunity. There's no one who really owns the millennial loyalty space, and with all due respect to the airlines, the millennial doesn't really care about frequent flyer points, never really been substantial enough for them to do anything with. And what's really interesting is, so 90% of our customers use debit cards. That means that those customers didn't earn any loyalty. They're buying based on budgeting and wanting to spend their own money at the moment, not based on loyalty. So there is a really big opportunity for us to move into that space. The hard thing that I'm trying to get my head around is how you do that in a way that doesn't cloud what you do currently. There's only so much a customer can digest at once, and at the moment our product is uniquely simple. So you need to do it in a way that is consistent with how they perceive you, that they get virally excited about it as well. But I think if we can do it in the right way, I think just millennial loyalty full stop has a, it's a space that's underpopulated.
That's one of the characteristics about millennials, right? They're not loyal, and so it's going to be a
I'm a
challenge.
millennial. I'm 27. What are you saying?
Well, they don't stick to one brand, that they're happy to move around. So for any
Everyone
retailer
says-
out there, it's a challenge.
Everyone says we're flighty, arrogant. We see some of the millennial brands, like the core millennial brands, have done such an amazing job. So the retention we see from Mimco's, Culture Kings, Princess Polly's, unreal. But there's the traditional retail who hasn't connected with the millennial, who's now has the privilege to shop based on price because discounts been driven so far through. I mean, I'm loyal to Deliveroo and Netflix. It's funny, like the example I give. This is a really weird example, but if I got a speeding ticket and someone said, "I'm going to take away your Netflix subscription," I'd be like, "I'd rather pay the speeding ticket, which is like a lot more because I couldn't live without my Netflix subscription." And I think if you build products where you speak to customers in a way that drives all about loyalty. So our customers are like a cult. If you get them in the right way and you build the right relationship with them, I think it's my TED talk.
Yeah, awesome. So,
What's the one more question, Rick?
what is the most
Interesting insight you have about consumer behaviour based on your journey at AfterPay? It sounds like you know a little bit about it.
Yeah, we get down to like you buy black dresses and I buy Nike shoes. We get down to that level of data. The thing that surprised me the most was the debit versus credit split, which actually drove our success because that underlying attribute was why people wanted an AfterPay service. So we didn't know it was we didn't know it was fortnightly, we didn't know it was debit cards, but they all kind of aligned and worked. Everyone's talking about it, but mobile is insane. So 2 out of every 3 transactions through us are on a mobile, and it's skewed higher because it's millennial, but and our most popular purchasing time period is well after everyone goes home from work. There's just lots of really interesting things, but you see them change based on the demographic of that particular customer. Yeah.
I've got 2 questions. On the back of the brand conversation, are they easy pay customers that shop at General Pants, or are they General Pants customers that use easy pay?
So
Are the General Pants customers that shop at using AfterPay, so EasyPay then, AfterPay,
no insult taken this time.
or
I
are
get
they
it wrong all the
AfterPay customers that shop at General Pants?
So who owns the brand?
They're an AfterPay customer that shops at General Pants.
Is that the behaviour?
Yeah, so we're the biggest affiliate program in the country now, and we don't charge for it. Our shop directory is the biggest referrer of traffic to all of our retail partners because our customers come to us to decide where they shop based on who accepts AfterPay.
My second question is,
But they are brand loyal.
yeah,
So there's a Sephora AfterPay customer.
yeah.
They're still bloody brand loyal to Sephora, but we've just got a great relationship with them too.
I'm assuming at some point we're going to capitalise on this data you're getting as well. There's a value to that, obviously across all these different retailers and behavioural data. There's something in that as well.
Sure. I think the question was around data and all of the insights that you're collecting in terms of how consumers are using your platform. What do you plan to do with that data?
it all comes back to your purpose about wanting to help retailers sell more stuff. So what retailers are stuck with at the moment is severely archaic systems that they can't do anything with. And we're then in a really nice opportunity to help them with their data that we have to then feed it back to them to help them personalise, segment. You know, we would know when someone's browsing online and then buying in store. We know that. We're in both platforms.
And is that an additional revenue stream?
There's always opportunities to create additional revenue streams, but at the end of the day, my main objective is right now is to get adopted by as many customers as possible and help retailers sell as much as possible. It's never about juicing the lemon. As soon as you start juicing the lemon, you're like a big corporate. Mass adoption.
Why hasn't Visa or Amex moved into this space?
So the question was, why hasn't Visa or Amex moved into this space?
Well, they've tried to do some things around like Visa Checkout and MasterPass, and in other countries they do. I don't know if it's the bank or Visa, or it's probably a combination of all the scheme, but they do it. So like I was in South Africa and they offered me an instalment payment option when I just went to buy in retail. The big difference is that it's on my credit card. So a lot of people do play in this space, but they play in credit card land, and that's just not our customer. It's not where we trade. They're great partners. You know, they have the same purpose to us. They've got amazing underlying technology. So I think everyone's saying. I think there's opportunities for everyone to grow together. I mean, we don't disrupt anyone or displace anyone. Anyone can use any card through our system, so it's a win-win.
Cool. I think we got maybe time for one more question. Yep.
My name is Jeffrey. What's the biggest sector we're seeing before this?
Sorry.
Biggest sector where we see default.
Oh, yeah.
We see it across a whole range of different categories. So like, it's largely, so well, depends on a few things. One is each retailer targets different demographics. So we see that across the board. Each retailer sells different products. So the whole GHD hair straightener versus cotton on. Fashion is notoriously good because it's very hard to be resold, but then it's balanced by different. You get some retailers that it's like Princess Polly targets 20 to 23-year-old girls. You'd think they'd be really bad payers. They're like the best payers because they want to buy another dress to wear another dress on the weekend, and they don't want to be late. So it surprises you. There's pockets all over the place. But we score each retailer differently. So each retailer has their own, that feeds into the score.
The reason I asked you for AfterPay are the two of the websites yesterday. Sit and burn the cell.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of before and alcohol.
Yeah, well, our alcohol decision was an ethical decision, not a default decision. I just said, I don't want to be chased by Tracy Grimshaw selling alcohol. But it was, I guess we hold, everyone has their own values, but for us, we didn't want to sell alcohol to our customers using AfterPay. That's been a stance that we put in place from day one. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. I can see the pizzas have arrived. I'd like to give a round of applause to Nick for coming tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming tonight. As Nick said, you've given up your Thursday night, and I hope that you've got some insights tonight and you're inspired to continue on your startup or start your own startup. So please stick around, have a chat to Rochelle or Jane, who are here from Fishburners and can talk to you more about what we do. And yeah, we look forward to meeting you now over pizza and wine.